A new report suggests more than 80% of trafficked guns in the U.S. came from states without background checks. That's according to Everytown for Gun Safety. The organization says the findings underscore the need for the Senate to pass legislation to close the loophole on federal background checks. The research comes as the U.S. grapples with an increase in gun violence. So for more on this, I want to bring in Nick Suplina. He is the managing director for law and policy for Everytown for Gun Safety. Thanks for joining us. Nick. So according to this research, 2020 saw an estimated 25% increase in homicides and non-suicide related shootings compared to 2019. What do we know about the current increase in gun violence? Why is this happening?
Well, there's no doubt that 2020 saw record spikes in gun violence, and criminologists will be looking at the causes for that for years. But what we do know is that that year will be remembered for two conflicting, compounding public health crises, COVID-19 and gun violence. And the basic fact is that COVID exacerbated so many of the causes of gun violence. Stress levels were high, opportunities for employment were lower. We always see spikes in gun violence over the summer. School is out. School was out months early this year. Summer youth employment was down. So we saw a number of the factors that typically contribute to increases in gun violence over a much longer period of time. What we also saw was record increases in gun sales. Millions and millions more guns purchased in 2020 than in previous years. And we know that some of those sales are stretching our background check system thin, and many of them are not undergoing a background check at all.
So let us talk about that. This new data found nearly 1/3 of traced guns were brought across state lines before being used in a crime. So which states primarily drove this activity in the U.S., and what does that tell us about the challenges American cities and states are facing when it comes to gun violence?
Yeah, so, we have no federal law on background checks for all gun sales. Instead, we have 50 state laws. And what our data showed, we looked at 5 years of data of guns used in crimes and successfully traced. We looked at over 1 million guns. And of those guns that cross state lines, 3 in 4 originated in a state that doesn't require background checks on all gun sales. What does this tell us? I think it's obvious. We need to do something about background checks in this country. We need states we need the federal government to require background checks on all gun sales and take this out of the states so that gun traffickers and criminals don't go shopping across state lines where they can easily acquire a firearm without a background check.
This issue of background checks is so confounding to me. I mean, universally, we want less gun violence in this country, right? And I mean, you can look at survey after survey after survey, and you will find that the vast majority of Americans support enhanced background checks. Even gun owners would like better background checks, but still, it seems like politicians cannot get this done. Legislation requiring universal background checks on the sale or transfer of all firearms is currently being discussed in the Senate. Many Republicans say the bill that passed in the House, it just goes entirely too far. So based on the data, though, from this report, do you agree with that argument?
Well, look, we know that action needs to happen at the federal level. I think Democrats and Republicans in the Senate understand that, too. They understand that 90% of Americans support background checks on all gun sales. They understand that the overwhelming majority of Republicans and Democrats and gun owners all support background checks. So we believe that there are negotiations occurring in Congress that are occurring in good faith. We would applaud action on background checks because not only is it popular, but it's critically necessary as we're seeing spikes in gun violence across the country.
So meanwhile, 8 House Democrats introduced a bill aimed at closing existing gun law loopholes last week called the Protecting Our Communities Act. The bill would regulate concealable assault rifles and require ghost guns to come with a serial number. I want you to talk about what ghost guns are just so people know, but I also want to ask you just how important is it to get bipartisan support on this matter?
Well, it's very important to get bipartisan support. We think we can, because these are common sense gun laws. These are really simple fixes that can save lives. So to speak a minute about ghost guns, this is another way that background checks are easily avoided in this country. Ghost guns are nearly complete firearms that can be quickly assembled at home. No background check, no serial number on the firearm. So it's not a surprise to us that these guns are increasingly the gun of choice for criminal gun traffickers, as well as far-right extremist groups, white supremacist groups, who are looking to not have to undergo a background check and leave no trace of the firearms they're putting together. So the bill seeks to address this new and increasingly frightening development in our nation's laws.
So Congress has within its power to make sort of lasting and permanent change. The president can, sign a series of executive actions or orders, and that's exactly what President Biden did, aimed at addressing gun violence. He signed them just last month. We have seen before previous presidents sign executive actions or executive orders, and then they get reversed, when another administration is in power. But how hopeful are you that the Biden administration can make headway when it comes to curbing gun violence in this country?
We believe the Biden administration is the strongest gun safety administration in history. We know that President Biden was out of the gate early on his executive actions, leading the way, including on ghost guns and a number of other life-saving measures that we feel confident will be enacted where there are regulations, will survive court challenges, and will survive into future administrations because they make sense and they save lives. And so we were very pleased to see President Biden from the Rose Garden declare gun violence a public health crisis that needed to be addressed. And we applauded the executive actions he introduced that really begin to take action that Americans want and deserve.
Nick, I'm going to ask you a question that we haven't an area that we haven't actually sort of ventured into at all. But, here we have all this research that indicates that the vast majority, overwhelming majority, 90% of Americans would like to see, for example, enhanced gun checks. But when you look at a list of other proposed regulations, by and large, Americans, the majority of them are in favor of limiting access to guns, even people who own guns themselves. But it's very difficult to get bipartisan support. Can we talk about the role that, gun lobbying plays, the money that the support that the gun lobbyists sort of give to politicians who dig their feet in and resist any sort of enhanced gun legislation? The organization that you represent, how much of a problem does that organization believe that is?
Well, there is no question the NRA and the gun lobby have captured for so long politicians through their contributions, through their lobbying, and through their rhetoric and organizing, making simple, common sense gun laws seem as if you can't touch them. That's all changed. The politics on this issue have changed. They've changed, and we've seen it. Folks running for office on gun safety and winning at the federal level, at the state level, and we've seen groups like the NRA, their influence decline in large part because of their own mismanagement and corruption, but also because they can't keep telling the same story over and over again, that any modest change to gun laws is going to infringe on your rights or take away your guns. That's all hyperbole. it's all an exaggeration. The American people know it, and they're walking away from that organization. American elected officials know it, and they're beginning to understand that those lies no longer can be how we make policy.
Fascinating stuff. Nick Suplina, thank you so much.
My pleasure. Thank you.